Good morning, good evening, everybody. And first of all, I want to start with my pranams to Patriji for making this happen and for bringing this movement where all of us come together and share our wisdoms and meditate together. So first of all, let's understand what infinity is, the program name, what it is, what is the agenda of infinity, and why are we doing this? So as the name goes, we say that we call this as a simple spiritual Sunday gathering. So we want to keep it as simple as possible. So whenever we come and join these sessions, if you have seen the name of infinity, we have dropped all the I's in the name infinity, which means that we want to drop all our identities, like I am this, I am that, I belong to this religion, I belong to this spiritual society, I follow this guru, my practices are so, and my belief system is so, etc., etc., etc. We have so many identifications that we come together and sit with in these sessions. But the very purpose of this session is, first of all, to drop those identities, come, just be, and enjoy being yourself and being with yourself purely. So this is that space where you can just be yourself 100% with that purity, and that is what we are all working for. So many organizations have come together to work together to bring that oneness, and instead of that eyes, we have placed one, which is like, even though we are practicing different kind of things, the ultimate thing that we are looking for is truth and oneness. Truth is one, and oneness, in oneness we are all infinite. So that is why we are here to be with our pure true self and to create that divine space to just be ourselves. So a lot of organizations, partners have come here and supporting us to do this program with that oneness feeling. So let us enjoy this beautiful program coming together every weekend and feeling that beauty of oneness with all the divine connections that we do. So I thank all of you, Parinita ma'am for joining us, and PMC English for doing this live streaming. And today I am so happy to start off this program with Sagar sir. He has been such a inspiring personality for all of us, because every time we go to him and we want to launch a program, we ask for him and he shows that readiness. That shows how simple he is. So I welcome with my humble heart Sagar sir. Hello Sagar sir. Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
So thank you so much for joining and accepting to launch this program, sir. So a lot of us here are new to this platform might be. So Sagar sir is an avid meditator. He's a CEO and co-founder and a founder of the coherence technology, quantum coherence technology, and he's the trustee of Pyramid Valley, and he's been the ex-VP of a Cognizant company, and he has been meditating since 15 years now, and also he has been teaching, speaking, and spreading meditation by doing sessions in London, Bengaluru, and online sessions globally. And he has been doing a lot of online programs like Anapanasati, stillness retreats, and breath by breath and mind to matter, and a lot of programs, and inspiring a lot of souls and spreading meditation. So we have a very interesting conversation going to happen with Sagar sir. So before that, let's do a 30 minutes meditation, and I request Sagar sir to guide us through the meditation.
Good evening, good morning, friends. I hope my audio is clear.
Yes, sir.
Yes. Wonderful. Namaste, Parinita ma'am. Nice to see you and have you deliver the inaugural message for this program. And I like the concept of infinity without the eyes. And again, we're all infinite consciousness, and that is what Brahmarshi Patriji has been telling us. And for today, and then of course for every day, our quest is to be with that consciousness, not just the individual consciousness, but more the infinite oneness consciousness, right? So that's where we are. And yeah, glad to, I mean, it's my privilege to open this series or open this program. And I really appreciate the entire team for having me talk on this first Sunday of this wonderful new year.
Yeah, thank you so much for grounding us into that simple meditation, sir. Thank you. Your voice and the music, it was really very soothing and grounding. Uh, I hope all the participants are back now from the meditation. So let's jump into the most interesting conversation that we are going to have with Sagar sir now. So, sir, we want to start with the basic questions. So we want to know more about you and hear it from you. So where are you from? And tell us more about your parents and your education and jobs.
Wow, okay. So when typically when people ask me, where are you from? And I always have an interesting answer. I say I'm from India because I think I've realized that a lot of people have the very similar pattern. So though I was born and brought up in Tamil Nadu, my dad used to be working in the public sector, Navy Lignite Corporation. My mother tongue is Telugu. So my parents, they're all from Andhra. And since the time I graduated, I've been working outside of Tamil Nadu or Andhra. So it is Delhi, and then the US, and then in Bangalore. So I belong to multiple places, and then I say I belong to Bharat. And my what to say, my India mindedness or Bharat mindedness is what brought me back, in spite of the reservations of my family, brought me back from the US to India. And then when I came back to India in 2003 or 2002, and that is when I got introduced to this whole family of pyramid meditators, the whole pyramid meditation process, Brahmarshi Patriji and all the masters. In fact, that's a fantastic journey. We'll talk more about it. Yeah, my education has been pretty much in Tamil Nadu. So I did my engineering in computer science from Venkateshwar College of Engineering, which is University of Madras. And then while I was doing my first job, I did my MS in software systems from BITS Pilani. And then while I was working in the US, I did my PhD in international business. So that's been that. And then since then, since I got introduced to pyramid meditation, much of my education has been through the books that Patriji has been recommending.
So,
And yeah, go ahead.
yeah, about your parents.
Oh yeah. So my parents, so we were part of a typical middle class family. So born and brought up in a Bhakti tradition. So both my parents used to work. My dad used to be an engineer in NLC, and then my mom used to be a school teacher. And yeah, just because they are working, our family used to run. And I have two elder brothers and one younger sister. And my dad, I think a lot of things that I am today in terms of service and meditation and reading it all, I think probably came from my dad. So my dad used to be more aligned with Satya Sai organizations. So he used to be a very, what to say, strong devotee of Satya Sai Baba. We met him on several occasions. He used to take us to the Sai Bhajans every Thursday. And he used to be involved in service. So he was part of the Satya Sai Seva Dal for Tamil Nadu, and I think every year they have 1 month where they go and do service in Puttaparthi. So my dad used to be part of that contingent doing service in all the places, the bookstore, the chapel stand, the dining hall. And every time, anytime there are some functions, we go and do service. So that's about my dad. And then my dad was also music. He used to take me to music concerts, and that is why I don't know now I'm associated with Pyramid Music Meditation Academy and this whole music meditation. So music, service, bhakti, And of course, like all such fathers, he sent me to classes on Vachagovindam, Bhagavad Gita, and all that. And yeah, and then it was a wonderful upbringing. And again, like my parents, like most of us, my parents, my only thing that my mom used to tell us, study well. Only thing that's going to help you in the future is going to be your asset is your knowledge. And that's how it was my parents. And then later when I moved on to my Guruji, Patriji, and he also says the same thing, Jnanam. And of course, associated with Dhyanam has been helping me do all the, I mean, it's helping me discover the magic in life.
Wow. So when was the first time you got to know about meditation, and how did you get to know, and when was it, sir?
Okay, good question. So when I was working in Noida for the first 6 years of my career. Noida's in UP. So on the way to our office between the Noida town and the Noida export processing zone where I used to work, there is this big ashram of Maharshi Mahesho. So because it was strong, popular there, they used to conduct transcendental meditation classes in the town. And one of the weekends, I attended a transcendental meditation class and got that mantra or whatever. And then I started practicing meditation from then. So it was around 1993. So I used to be doing that's 15, 20 minutes of transcendental meditation every day. And I used to best, in fact, in my office also, just on the sofa, I just closed my eyes and started doing meditation. All my colleagues used to think, what is this Sai sleeping on the sofa morning and evening, right? I mean, closing my eyes and doing it. And I continued to do that. And then it helped me a lot in my education, especially though it was on and off. The most it helped me was to deal with my work as well as my PhD work when I was in Seattle in the US. So all that period, it was only transcendental meditation. I didn't know anything else. I mean, though I've been reading a lot of scriptures like Bhagavad Gita and all that. And only after I got introduced to Patriji and the pyramid movement is when I started following the breath mindfulness meditation.
So, sir, you said you started with transcendental meditation, but what is that that actual thing made you stick to the meditation? So, a lot of people try meditation and they drop it off in between. But what exactly motivated and made you to stick on to the practice?
Okay, so several stages, I think, like they say, right? Enlightenment is not just one flash in the pan or one flash in the flashing moment, right? It's a step by step, and then there's always a process, not a destination. It's a journey. So initially, I started TM primarily to calm my mind, right? So basically, I want to improve my concentration at work, right? And there were too many things that we had to do. So I used it as a tool to help me focus, help me concentrate, right? Help me calm my mind. So that is how it started off. That is what helped me in the initial days of work and allowed me to do my studies and work in parallel and all that. And then while we were in the US, we got introduced, I think, due to a colleague's wife being diagnosed with cancer when she was carrying her first child, right? So very close colleague's wife, and then both me and my wife were very close to them, and that came as a shocker. And then that was a turning point for us when we started going inward, when we started asking questions. Why does it happen? Why do things like this happen to good people, right? All of us have those questions. I'm sure a lot of us had those questions during the COVID time. So those things, I mean, why is life like this? Why some people's life was like that? Some people's life are like this. And that is when all the questions started, right? As we started doing it, and then that is when one of my first books during that time was Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle, right? And that was my first English language, New Age spiritual book outside of all our scriptures, English, in scriptures, English. So that is when we started going into, I mean, started meditating a lot more. So that was more about meditation for getting answers, right? So can I get some answers when I do deep meditation? But then as I continued along the journey of practicing meditation while at corporate work and while getting into pyramid meditation, what made me stick was two things. One is obviously calming my mind, right? It allowed the chatter in my mind to slow down. Before that, anytime I used to speak to someone or get into a meeting, all right? So always this mind chatter goes on, oh, what will the other people think, right? What will other people think? What am I saying it right? Or they hired me for something that I'm going to do. I don't know whether I'm doing justice to my job. So all those chatter used to go along. But the moment my meditation started making an impact, I could feel the silence here. And the answers, the responses, everything was so spontaneous, right? And then later I came to know that is because your mind died down and you're connected to your deeper intelligence, right? And all of us have that intelligence, all of us have that consciousness. And at the moment we are with it, everything happens magically. So now, and then later, what made me stick to meditation was exactly that. Like not allowing my mind, not allowing my ego to flare up, and always allowing me to be connected to my inner self. And then it does all the magic. Whatever I do at Permanent Valley, whatever I do at work, whatever I do with my family, with my kids, it automatically does it. And then there's no need for me to worry about anything because I know I'll get the right answers whenever I need. So that is what allowed me to stick. And then, yeah, the practice of meditation has been, again, as I keep saying in my classes, learning meditation is very simple. But continuing the practice of meditation to get those results, continuing to be with the results is the toughest part. Like Patanjali says in Yoga Sutras as well, Abhyasa and Vairagya. So Abhyasa, practice. So since then, and then all scriptures also talk about it, right? Everyday practice is what is essential. And I've been doing that minimum of 30 minutes, maximum of 1 hour every day. Even when I travel, I do it in the car, in the cab to the Bangalore airport or on the flight anywhere. And yeah, now it's become a habit. Just like all of us runners, when you don't run, you feel a sense of uneasiness in your body. So similarly, any day I don't get my meditation done, I feel a bit of uneasiness. So I said, even if it's not happening that early morning due to some reasons, I do it sometime later in the day.
Wow. Sir, as you said, some people will have a different kind of reasons to come into meditation. Like when I see it in different generation, like my parents' generation, they usually come into meditation for physical health, the benefits for the physical health, and my generation people come into it for improving focus, concentration, and the productivity and overall personal development. And coming to the Gen Z kids, they have this fancy word like manifestation and all those things. So that brings them into meditation. But according to you, sir, what should be that one single reason for a person to come into meditation?
It depends, like you said, right? And Patriji has carved out all these multiple entry points, right? All the entry points that you said are valid, right? Today we see a lot of people coming into meditation because of health reasons. A lot of people come into meditation just for getting rid of stress, right? So being with themselves. Some people may come for insights or manifestation, whatever it is. So I think all those are valid reasons. And it ultimately depends what is happiness, right? I mean, in fact, I was reading a book recently. So it depends what is happiness. Is happiness, define happiness between, some people define it as peace of mind, right? Peace in life. Some people define it as joy or bliss. So between the two, happiness is one of those, definitely, or in most cases, it's a combination. To me, peace, right? So peace, when I am peaceful and magic happens, you start automatically get into that joyous state, right? So for me, it was always peace of mind, peace of brain, whatever it is, peace in the body, not agitation. That is why if you look at, I'm always clued into the stillness concept, right? The stillness path, right? And at the moment you are still, magic happens. And the moment you are still, you are outside of your patterns of thinking. So today, I think I mean, all of us should start getting into the practice of meditation primarily to let go of all the distractions that we have, all the beliefs, all the distractions that's out there. And as they say, when you go into yourself, that is when you understand what is the truth, right? What is truth for you? Like Patriji says, the truth for each of us. I mean, though there is a universal truth, the truth for our soul being here is something that only we know and we uncover. So I think there's no one reason for people to get into meditation, and the motivation can be anything. But then, like your earlier question said, why should they sustain a practice of meditation? Ultimately, up to once they taste the peace and the bliss of meditation. I'm sure a lot of people will not let go of it because that is what allows them to continue. And as they continue the practice of meditation, they will start observing a lot of other benefits, right? In terms of using their intuition, their spontaneity, their creativity, looking at magical, meaningful coincidences and all that. So that continues to them on the path. So the entry points could be many, but the journey is the same for everyone.
Yes. Fantastic, sir. So, when did Anapanasati happen to you, sir? And what is so unique about it that you sticked on to it and you started teaching it?
Wonderful question. Okay, so my Anapanasati journey has not been smooth. It's been pretty rocky, right? So I keep saying the process of learning Anapanasati, the practice is sorry, the method is simple. The method of Anapanasati is simple. Just close your eyes, clasp your hands, cross your feet, right? And then observe your breath. That is all, right? But then sustaining the practice is the most difficult part. And for me, at least for the initial few years, it was all about, I mean, I know I've attended when Patriji sir comes to Bangalore, we all get into group meditation and Patriji sir plays the flute or someone plays the music and it's 1 hour full meditation. And then at the end of it, all through 1 hour, I keep battling only my thoughts, right? So I keep getting thoughts. And at the end of the 1 hour, a lot of people come out and say, oh, I had this wonderful colors, I had this wonderful vision. I had Babaji come in, I had Shirdi Sai Baba come in, and he told me this, I was floating there. So none of that happened, right? It was only thoughts either related to that day's work or something that I need to do, or even something like, okay, what is this? What is going to happen at the end of this 60 minutes, right? So it used to be that for a long time. And then I asked Patriji, everyone talk about such experiences. How come I'm not getting anything? Right? And he said, see, experiences are not a must. Some people may get it, some people may not get it, but that is not the goal of meditation. Right? So meditation is about, you'll have to just go beyond your mind. And that's what, as he says, right? So going beyond the mind is what is Buddha, being a Buddha, right? And then you also say it's going under the level of mind, right? When you start more focusing on your instincts, it's more about you become a Buddha. And when you're operating at the level of a mind, you're exercising your buddhi. And the only purpose of meditation and all spiritual science and all the techniques is for us to realize our Buddhahood, he says. So for me, I mean, he keeps saying that the wisdom continuously helped. But then I always, I mean, coming from a science and engineering background and a PhD background, and then I know you resonate to that as well. So it's like I was curious, what happens, right? Anybody who comes to him, he says, and someone comes with a health problem, someone comes with a money problem, someone comes with a career problem. He says, sit, close your eyes, observe your breath. That's what he says. And then my question was, what for all questions, he has only one answer, right? How does it work? And I was always curious to learn more, understand more about meditation. And as my journey moved along, there were different books that helped. Patriji's books, obviously, things like Joe Dispenza's books. They talk about the science behind meditation. What happens when you go into deep meditation? What happens when you observe your breath? And a wonderful books called Mind Illuminated, which is like the Bible for Anapanasati meditation. It talks about the whole 9 yards, about what happens in every step. And what happens when you have thoughts and thoughts are okay. So all those things. And as you keep reading the books, I started understanding or knowing the science behind meditation. I started getting more convinced. And parallelly, I also observed, I used to feel the difference at my work, right? As I said, I get into a lot of meetings with the chatter in my mind. Slowly, I used to feel that calmness. I used to feel that sense of silence in my head as I walk around, as I talk to people, I get into those meetings, as I do my work. So that also kind of helped me a lot in terms of believing that, oh, something is good, something is happening, right? So the science coupled with the experience that I've been having, the benefits I've been having, allowed me to gain conviction on Anapanasati meditation. And once I knew this, and the second thing I also did was try to experiment methods, try to find out what are the techniques that people should follow to silence their mind. That is what we've been following in breath by breath and APS and all those, and then even still and steadily. So only once I started knowing that, practicing it, building benefits, that is when I started want to share my knowledge with people, right? So because when someone asks me, I need to give a convincing answer coming from a science and engineering background. So now I think I have most of those answers, but again, there are a lot of questions that people come up with which I may not have answers. If I don't have the answers, I don't, and it's up to them for them to go and investigate. But for me, I know why meditation works for me. I know how meditation has helped me, and I know the science behind meditation, and that is what I've been trying to practice and teach. Like Ramakrishna Paramahamsa says, right? So you can't advise someone if you have not followed that particular advice, right? And that is what I've been doing.
Fantastic, sir. So as you brought in the aspect of science of meditation, so I'm little curious because as you said, you are from the research background, scientific background, and even I resonate with it. So initially when I look at meditation, I have seen you also give a lot of neuroscience about meditation and the facts about meditation. And also, I started believing the practice of meditation because of those facts, the scientific temper. But when I heard Patriji talk about having a spiritual scientific temper, it was totally different. When he said you should have a scientific temper and a scientific bent of mind, he meant to have a curious mind with a common sense where you practice, experiment, and know the truth by yourself. So that actually changed my perspective of looking at science. So, can you elaborate a little bit on that, sir? Like, how do we have that spiritual, scientific bent of mind when we get into the practice?
Correct. I think Patriji advocates that, right? Spiritual scientific temper, right? So that whole attitude of spiritual scientific again. So I think Patriji is one of those, I think, first gurus who's even told you experiment yourself, right? And you understand, you be curious, understand whether it's worked for you. Whereas if you look at a lot of others that you see, and it is my way or the highway, right? So they say, okay, this is the practice. I've researched, all of you follow this. But with Patriji, that spiritual scientific temper allows us to kind of, what is it, question everything with that scientific background. So, and then I've seen it, right? Like you said, a lot of people understand, especially the Gen Zs and people, all the professionals. So there are a lot of, there are different types of people, right? Some people resonate well with the bhakti mode. Some people resonate with the karma path. And a lot of us resonate with the more the dhyana and Raja Yoga and things like that, right? So even there, how does it work? So Patriji's constant focus on science, that is why he also talks about Swadhyaya. It's not, okay, you do 20 minutes for an hour meditation and done, right? Listening to other people's experiences, oh, that inspires me, right? I know a lot of people who started following meditation to alleviate their health issues. That is because they've heard someone saying that I meditated for 1 week, this pain went away, or diabetes went away, or BP went away. I got better sleep, right? So immediately they started practicing. And there are a different set of people the Swadhyaya, where the books that he recommends, right from, I think if it is Joe Dispenza's books or many of the Buddhist books, right, and then even ancient books. So he keeps referring those, and the moment you open those books, you understand how it works. For example, breath, right? So why is breath so simple? And there are a lot of books, a lot of practices. Just be conscious of your breathing. That is all they do, nothing more. Just conscious breathing, being conscious of your everyday normal breathing alleviates or removes a lot of those physical health issues, right? That is true. That is science has told us, right? And similarly, some of the Buddhist books talks about as you continue to do that, what happens to your mind? How does your mind calm down? So curiosity, in fact, Buddha talks about curiosity, and he talks about curiosity of your every breath. And every breath is different. So he says one of the success factors for you to continue a practice of meditation is being curious about what's going to happen in meditation. Again, not having expectations, but just be curious, whatever happens, accept it and let it go. So, for example, every breath is different. Every cycle of breath is different. The length of your inhale is different. Length of your exhale is different. Sometimes you breathe through your left nostril. Sometimes you breathe through your right nostril. So everything. So be curious. Be curious about what sensations it happens. He talks from a physical level. I think that is what Anapanasati Sutras talk about. It talks from a physical level, then it talks about your feelings, then it talks about your thoughts and mental processes, and then talks about your ultimate truths. And again, so books allow you to, again, going back to that same question on spiritual scientific temper, right? So what is Anapanasati? Why is Anapanasati better? Or why is Anapanasati working the way it is working for millions of people? So that curiosity you always need to be there. Well, Patriji clearly says in a video, I think we used to play in Buddha Purnima as well. He says, this is what I found it, because he says, I attended Vipassana, I listened to Osho Path, I listened to Jiddu Krishnamurti's Theosophical Society. And he says, yes, they're all there. They're all good methods, right? It depends on the individual's temperament and state of mind for them to absorb. Everything is fine. Everything is true. But he said, I didn't find something that is going to be simple that it appealed to me. So I found this, or I brought into practice this ancient practice of Anapanasati meditation, right? And again, I'm not telling you that is right for you. So you experiment, you do it, you find it's useful, you continue to do it. If not, you discover your path. That is what he says. And that's where curiosity, the scientific bent of mind. And I think, as I said, spiritual scientific. So typically spirituality and science was always seen as two parallel streams, right? And in fact, when in our forefather, grandfather, the parents' time also, it always used to be that. Spirituality, if you ask, why should I do this? Why should I do that? They didn't have a question. They didn't have an answer, right? Oh, you have to do this because we've been continuing to do it. That is how we have to do. Or there will be answers like, otherwise God will punish you, right? So that was the spiritual bent of mind. Though there are people who can answer that in a scientific mode. And today, because of the proliferation of science, proliferation of the English language across the world, right? A lot of people are looking at answers in a language that they understand, some kind of logic. Now it's an age of logic, right? So we moved from an age of feelings to age of logic at mind, which is where I think meditation is a lot more essential and important. So we apply logic to everything, every single thing. And that is where, like Patriji says, understanding the science of meditation is very important. Not only meditation, understanding the science of life. Why do certain things happen? In fact, now if you look at it, there is a science behind everything. Science behind astrology, science behind Vastu, science behind mantras, right? Science by now, I think Nada Yoga, right? Sound, right? There is a science, there's science behind sound, how different ragas, different nadas, that they activate different parts of your body. So there is a science behind all those. Only thing is finding the right books, finding the right answers. That happens only when we have the spiritual scientific temper, not blind faith, but spiritual scientific temper. But one thing I've noticed, once that wisdom, once that switch gets flipped, oh wow, that's how it works. Then there's no going back, right? So you know that works, and it's something becomes a habit in each one of us. I don't know, maybe a long answer to your wonderful question.
Yeah, that is much needed, said. It's a very clear explanation. Thank you. So, now I want to know, like, how did you connect to PSSM and Pyramid Valley, sir?
Oh, okay. So it was all again another big, meaningful, magical coincidence. I think destiny had it. So as I said, while I was working in the US, like this friend I was talking about, and my colleague's friend happened to be Chandrasekhar. So Chandrasekhar Brahmarshi. So we got introduced while we were in the US. And then at that time, yeah, so we're not as glued on to pyramid meditation, though I kept hearing his brother, Dr. GK, used to be evangelizing meditation a lot. And then after returning to India around 2002, 2003, that is when I think even the Pyramid Valley project started. And that is when Chandra used to get into a lot of meditation and Brahmarshi Patriji. So he introduced us to Patriji and the Pyramid Spiritual Society's movement. And me and my wife started building the first website for PSS movement. So pssmovement.org. And a lot of those definitions, Patriji used to sit next to us and type in. So we used to type in the website. That is where meditation is silencing the incessant chatter of the mind. That was his first definition. The 3 grand happenings of meditation. He used to be dictating all that. It's almost like a lesson for us while we build the website. So that's how it was. And around the same time, the land was acquired for Pyramid Valley. And being in Bangalore, Chandra got associated with it a lot more deeper. And he used to pull us along every Sunday, or I think once a month. We used to go there, sit and meditate. That used to be our recharge. And we used to continue the Swadhyaya. Even at that time, every weekend, we used to gather in one of our houses, discuss wisdom from the books, right? Share experiences. So all those was parallelly happening. So that is when I think around 2003 or 4 is when I got introduced to do PSSM, Brahmarshi, Patriji, and this whole breath mindfulness meditation started happening. And that is around the same time was Permit Valley. So for a few years, I was more a volunteer, not playing any formal role. I used to help in conducting programs, building the website for Pyramid Valley as well. And we used to have this Global Congress of Spiritual Scientists. So for at least the last 3 or 4 editions, I was responsible. I was the key person making sure the whole program was happening and all that. And then I became a trustee. And then around 2019, I think I became a managing trustee. And I continued longer than normal in the managing trustee role because of COVID and others. And early last year is when I said I want to kind of spend more time on something else. And that is when someone took over the managing trustee. But again, I continue to be associated with Pyramid Valley and the rest of the organization. Again, fantastic, large learning family. And then, like most of you, so every day has been a big learning experience in PSS.
Sir, you said you switched from trustee to managing trustee, and you were in the job then, right? And actually, what made you leave your job or take a break from your job and take up the managing trustee role completely?
Yes. So I've been wanting to do service, right? For the initial several years, I was doing my work as well as this role, right? This role was always Saturday, Sundays, or the evenings. And somewhere around the line, like all of us who've been in long-term work or full-time service, there's always this urge to take a break, right? So the urge to take a break, okay, let me take a break. And so as I keep saying, the early years, initial years, I wouldn't have thought about taking a break from Cognizant, the fantastic company it was. But then around 2018 and 19, which is when we just returned from a 2 year stint in London as well. And around the time, a lot of things started changing at work as well. So things started making you feel a lot more uncomfortable. And like Patriji says, when things are right, situations will create by themselves, right? So around the time I got whatever Patriji wanted me to do the managing trustee role around in October 2019. And around the time things at work also started feeling uncomfortable. And I think around December or January, I started having conversations about taking a break with my boss at Cognizant. And the purpose was only one thing, right? At that time, 2 years, I take a break and then I spend a full time for Pyramid Valley, because especially when you are doing a voluntary service and then you see a lot of things happening, you tend to have a lot of ideas, right? So you want to do this, you want to do that, you want to do that. But to do all that, you need to spend time. You have to spend focus. So I said, okay, in those 2 years, I'll try out all my ideas at Pyramid Valley. And that was the whole point. And then also in terms of what do I need to do next, right? I knew I was getting a bit, bored with my full-time work at a company like Cogn, it's a services company, right? So whether I do my own thing or build a product or build to do totally something different, you need time to kind of think about it and experiment it. And that is what allowed me to take a break. And thankfully, the financial situation also shaped up at the right time, right? So that allowed me to take a break of 2 years without pay. And again, thanks to all the meaningful coincidences, I keep talking about that in a lot of my children's retreat sessions and how that came to be, right? So all those factors, again, it was right time. So again, as I said, right, I had the desire and things, conspired to create the right situation for my desire to become a reality, right? I didn't uh, uh, crave for it. It happened. And then I was thankful for the 2 years, or the 2 years became 4 years, but thankful for every moment of that. And that is how I moving from full-time work to full-time service, but now again back to some part-time service.
Fantastic, sir. So I think you said in 2019 you became the managing trustee, and that's the period when COVID was hit. right? So how challenging was that period of time for you, sir?
Yeah, so I came, as I said, right, I came up with a lot of wonderful plans for Pyramid Valley, right? So we used to have these workshops like coming from corporates, you do those 1 day workshop. Well, this is how we do, this is how we do, we'll be self-sufficient within 2 months, 3 months, all this we do. And suddenly the March lockdown started in 2020, right? And again, a lot of things happened. But again, there's a different kind of challenge in terms of obviously with people not visiting Pyramid Valley, the inflow, the financial, the funding situation was a bit of a challenge. But then it also, as they say, right, every failure you got to see the what to say, the apples or the opportunities. So that allowed us to build a very strong online platform for Pyramid. In fact, we were the first Zoom experts in PSSM. Even before anybody in PSSM started doing Zoom, Pyramid Valley were the first to do Zoom. And we were the experts. A lot of people used to ask us how to do this, how to do that, right? And then, of course, within a couple of months, everyone became experts. But we were the first to stumble upon Zoom, start doing online sessions every day. I think we did quite a few of those sessions, build a strong website platform, being a strong online payment platform. And we did a lot of sessions online. And so throughout those 2 years, it was more about engaging people with Pyramid Valley, building that strong association through wisdom sessions. And then once it opened up, we were a bit of okay. We started quite a few of the other projects. That the main challenge was keeping the Pyramid Valley staff intact, right? That is one other thing. Like a lot of other institutions which got closed, they let go of the staff, right, and said they come back, right? But with the Pyramid Valley being a service organization, it was probably easier for us to do. You could always say, oh, we're not getting donation, we're not getting funding. Boss, you can move on, and then you come back and join us when we are ready. But thanks to Patriji's support and guidance and all the masters, we continued with that lean staff, right? So though we made it lean, but the staff continued, and all of us, in fact, during the second lockdown, all of us were, I think some of you were as well, were in Pyramid Valley along with Patriji, enjoying the wonderful company of Patriji, wonderful food, and though we didn't have much of the visitors. So the challenges were on those fronts, more on funding, more on keeping the audience engaged. But having said that, there are a lot of new things that came up around. In fact, Stillness Retreat was born around towards the end of the second COVID time. And one big shift that we saw is prior to COVID, all our classes used to be staffed like 20-25%. Right? If it was at Kabir Bhavan or capacity, in that capacity, there probably will be used to be 20 people listening to a wisdom session. But post-COVID, and a lot of you have seen, all our classes used to run full, right? Which was like a blessing in disguise. With minimum 50 to 60 people attending every retreat, and sometimes 100 people. The visitor inflow into Pyramid Valley improved, right? And so we're all prepared for that, hopefully, because of all that great. But yes, there were challenges, but there were also opportunities that we thankfully worked on.
Right. So also the COVID time brought a lot of importance to the mental health aspect as well, and a lot of corporates also started looking at it, and that's when it started booming and a lot of people getting into meditation. So, so you said you spent a lot of time with Patriji during COVID time. So how was your experience and time with him, sir?
Yeah, so interestingly, it was a bit different. So with Patrici, though being with Patrici, you always think about, okay, so he's always there. Anytime I can go ask him a question, he'll give me an answer, right? And interestingly, uh, though I might have asked a few questions, but he never answered me directly. Sometimes you have that thing, oh my God, how come he gives answers to everybody? Sometimes you feel that this thing, he gives answers to everybody, but how come he's not giving me answers, right? So sometimes he says, no, whatever you're doing is right. Go ahead and do it, right? Then you feel a bit, oh, I went and because always when there are like two paths to choose or two decisions, I mean, two choices to make, right? And if someone says, okay, this is good, go ahead, you feel a sense of concreteness, and you feel a sense of what the confidence or trust. In some cases, you say, I mean, I tell him two choices, we can go this way, and this way he says, do what you feel is right, Baba. And that brings the ball in our court. So you have to go and do it, but he is always supported. The other thing that I've seen, my biggest, what to say, um, uh, value from being with Patriji was the books. that he talks about. And in fact, the biggest impact of being during COVID time with Patriji was his message on no death. So he used to emphasize on no death. Like death is a transition to a different world, right? It's like moving into a new city or a town, right? It's not the end. And that is what he used to constantly emphasize. We are souls, and we are on a journey here. And the moment our work is done here, or the moment it's time to move on, so we move on to a different role. It's nothing like you don't need to be sad about dying, right? About death. So two things happened because of that constant wisdom. Prior to COVID, I never used to talk about soul in my classes. To me, coming from a corporate and science background, I didn't know how to speak about soul to a corporate crowd. But post-COVID, and of course, a lot of other books help. Now, if you look at it, I think Prithvi and some of you had attended my initial stillness retreat. Now, my last couple of stillness retreat, we dedicate one full day of day to soulfulness. I know Seshadri sir is also here, so he's also attended a recent one. So we dedicate to soulfulness. So we start with breathfulness. We talk a lot about mindfulness, and then how mindfulness leads us to soulfulness. Soulfulness is about weaving that magic of your life without being bothered, right? And you talk about soul. So that was a big thing about being with Patriji, that wisdom. And every time I go with a question, and the way he answers is through books, immediately gives me a book that he's been reading. And Sagar, you read this, or sometimes Sagar, read from page 20 to 25. And I keep reading, and then he said, I'll read it. No, read now. And I keep reading it, and invariably that will contain, either point me to an answer to my question that I had, or it will give me an answer to a question. I immediately say, oh, wow, sir, I came with this question, that question is answered. And he always, because he was also pretty much in the pagoda, reading a lot of books, recommending a lot of books, and we used to have those enlightenment hours. So spending time with Patriji was more about knowledge or wisdom from a guru, right? Rather than, and you learn a lot. And I learned a lot by seeing him. I always keep mentioning that. I probably learned a lot more about observing him and seeing him rather than he telling me, Sagar, do this, don't do this, right? Even in Pyramid Valley affairs, or even in my personal thing. So you just observe the temperament that he has, the what to say, I mean, not being bothered about anything. Something happens, it's okay. Something doesn't happen, it's okay. And coming from a corporate world, it was difficult to digest at the beginning. But then, so again, both me and my family absolutely cherish the time we spent with Patriji during that lockdown. And again, I don't know about most of you, but I thank lockdown for that. I thank Corona for that, by being able to spend so much time in Pyramid Valley with Patriji. Those, I think, 2 or 3 months. I think a lot of you, I think, most of the team, FSS team and Chambara team were there with us.
So it's so beautiful to listen to how you cherish those days. Now, how do you see the PSSM after Patriji exiting his physical body, sir?
I think PSSM has elevated. That's how I see, right? Generally, what happened, I think Patriji also created it that way. He didn't create it like an organization. Okay, there is a central body, and then this is how you should run. There were no guidelines, and it was never a guru focus or a master focus. We always say that everybody is a master, right? And though there are a lot of people who probably mistook that guidance, but he always believes everybody is a master. So he didn't create one godhead or one figurehead for pieces, right? So, and he always mention, I always keep saying, it's not about the master, it's about the teachings. And which is what I see PSSM the last couple of years. The last two Dhyana Mahachakras have been last December and so December of 2022 and 23. I didn't see any dilution, right? So the thousands of people keep coming there, the events start happening the same way, and then all the masters continue to do the work across the world, across the globe. And we've been getting guidance from Patri Madam, Parinta Patri, and Pari as well. So they've all been guiding, and then all the masters, all the senior masters, they've been sticking to teachings. I don't think anyone has been deviating. So they've been spreading the word, and that's the magic of Patriji, I think. And he knew probably he had the sports side, so he built a movement, empowered the masters, and said, "Here are the teachings that which are common for everyone. Now do it your own way." So there are people who do it their own way, but ultimately the truth and the essence of meditation is probably reaching a lot more than before as well. And I think it's been gradually. COVID was one big force, like you said. A lot of people started meditating at home, and even in corporates, right? People though were switching off the camera, they were happy meditating from home rather than in the conference room or an office room in the offices. And then post Patriji again, a lot of people took the responsibility to spread the teachings, and it's going magnificently well, I believe.
So coming to your programs that you're doing, why did you really choose them, like Anapanasati, breath by breath, and mind to matter? So why specifically these subjects? What made you do?
Yes, again, I think my science and engineering background, right? So I used to listen to a lot of those soulful talks or Atma talks or even faith workshops, and lot of those channeling and all that happened, right? So maybe none of those happened to me, so I didn't really carry those forward. If something happened to me, maybe I'd have advocated that path. For me, I will always research what is Anapanasati, right? Again, the curiosity. So you go and search, you go and read. That's when you discover Buddha's Anapanasati Sutras. Right? Then I thought that is not being talked about as much by a lot of people in the movement. Even if you see, I would say I wouldn't say that anybody in PSSM who talks as much of Anapanasati Sutras as I do, right? So, and I cover those sutras in my courses, and though in a more an English form, right? So that is what we do. So that is how Anapanasati, because as you continue to practice, and then after that, I've been reading a lot of books, a lot of neuroscience books, a lot of Deepak Chopra's books, a lot of other books. Ultimately, everyone bring to that thing, right? It's all about mindfulness, mindfulness of sensations, mindfulness of feelings, mindfulness of thoughts. So ultimately, people converge there. So that made me stick to my conviction of Anapanasati. So the simple process, simple practice of Anapanasati, how do you do it? And again, as you know, I was bothered by not having a structured method to follow. And that is what breath by breath brings in. Right? A structured method to practicing Anapanasati meditation. We go step by step, first time focusing your attention and following your breath and flowing with your breath. There is a process we follow over those 11 days. And then we let people practice it. And then the third aspect is all the wisdom that I learned in terms of mindfulness, in terms of being with intuitive self, purpose of life. So all those things, something that I've learned, it was helpful for me. And I thought, why not share it? I mean, I'm sure a lot of people would be scouring through books, confused with a lot of things. So if I'm able to make a difference, let me do it. So what I'm doing is, whatever I read, whatever I experienced, whatever I practiced, whatever I found beneficial to me, I'm sure a lot of like-minded people will come and absorb it. And that is what my courses have always been. And in the process, there were some magical things that also happened. Like I keep mentioning, during COVID time, when we started these online classes, one day I went and stood in front of my bookshelf to see what is the topic I should talk about tomorrow. And that is when the Yoga Sutras book stood out, right? It was by BKS Iyengar. Though I had that book in my bookshelf for almost 2 years, it didn't never stood out. I know it was there, I had to get there. But when I stood there, that was the one thing that called my attention. And immediately took that and started reading it. And I observed it was a fantastic manual of mind. It was not about, not more about scriptures, right? So I always used to think it more about probably scriptures and a lot more deeper science that I need to get to somewhere. But it was fantastic. It talks about stilling the mind, right? Yoga Chitta Vritti Nirodha. So that is where the whole stillness thing started, right? It's all about stilling the mind. And then what happens when you still the mind, right? And then I also, thanks to some of you who started attending Vipassana retreats, and then I started getting a lot of insights from that. This is how they do. There is this Anapanasati, there is this stillness, there is this wisdom of mindfulness. So it's all about putting together. And over the course, I think one of my skills and strengths has been to simplify things. That's what I used to do at work as well, right? In technologies. So basically, the multiple things. How do I simplify that and have people in my work? It was about having my clients use new technologies, whereas now I'm having others use these practices like meditation and mindfulness in a more simplified manner. So once they find the benefits, I think they'll continue to follow. So that is the foundation. Today, just practicing or so, stillness, peace, mindfulness, soulfulness, and breathfulness has helped me. And that is what my courses are all around.
And my favorite is stillness retreat, sir. The way you have structured it and the way you made it so systematic and simple, it was fantastic experience. I know like it has changed a life for a lot of people like me. So thank you so much for coming up with such interesting programs, sir. So, with your permission, I know we were talking a lot about you only throughout, but with your permission, I would like to go be a little more intrusive with you. Is that okay, sir?
Yes.
So, what makes Sagar sir angry?
What makes Sagar sir angry? When someone does something knowing that it is not the right thing, that makes me angry. Right? Someone is someone hopefully in a responsible position for some reason, right? I mean, later when you reflect, probably my anger may not be justified. So I wouldn't say anger. I get annoyed, right? So I get annoyed that anger is more inside me. So when someone repeatedly does something that he's not supposed to do, though he has the wisdom to do, that's what makes me annoyed and angry. But then I came to know, I mean, a lot of instances during my Pyramid Valley tenure, and later came to know, I mean, being annoyed, getting that annoyed, being annoyed, that was all more for a learning for me to not be annoyed even at that. So the number of instances where I get annoyed is lot drastically come down now compared to my earlier days, corporate days, or the plus beginning days of Pyramid Valley. So I think that's the only thing that's that I feel annoyed about.
And what makes Sagar sir very happy?
What's make me very happy? The moment I follow my wisdom, I follow what I want to do, it makes me happy. Yeah, I think magic, all these magical moments make me happy. Yeah, really. So magical moments, right? In terms of both for me as well as when I start seeing that in other people's lives, right? My kids' lives. So a lot of teachings that we learn from kids, we learn from our daughters and sons, right? And then we learn from our relationships. So every time there is a lesson that you learn, you feel that wow, well, going off, right? And that makes you really happy. Oh wow, that's the wisdom, right? And every time you see people applying this wisdom and practices in their day-to-day life, again, I think just like Patri sir says, it's all about feeling. It's all about living the life we are here. It's about living that worldly life with a lot more peace of mind and joy. That's all, right? It's not about I don't do any of these things. I want to do 10 hours of meditation. So that is sometimes make me angry. Someone says, I want to do more meditation. I'm spending 10 hours in meditation. Whatever. I mean, if they're ignoring a lot of other stuff and doing 10 hours of meditation, that sometimes makes me angry. So you'll have to kind of temper that. But otherwise, making me happy when you see that magical things happen, right? So and then which obviously the answers are rooted in wisdom, in all the spiritual science. So that really, oh, I read about it, now I see that happen. So that really makes me happy.
That coincidence is kind.
Coincidences, exactly.
Yeah. So, if you can give one word, what being spiritual to you means?
Being spiritual to me means, as I said, going beyond your mind. I mean, to me, for me, being in the present moment, that is where it all started, power of now, Eckhart told. For me, being spiritual is about being in the present moment, right? Being in the present moment means being mindful of whatever I am doing, right? And being away from the chatter is what is about spiritual meaning. And again, as I say, spiritual is not about the shastras, the yogic science, the mantras, the what to say, all the postures and all that stuff. Spirituality is not about it. Spirituality is about when you are connected to your intelligence. Being spiritual is when I am acting out of my intelligence, my intuition, right? That is about being spiritual. That is all. To me, that happens when I am not thinking. When I'm not thinking, when I'm in the present moment, when I'm completely focused on a particular activity that happens, that to me is spiritual because that comes from my spirit. It doesn't come from my matter, right? That's what mind to matter talks about. So spirit is basically something that you don't see, your thoughts, your consciousness. Consciousness is spirit. So to me, whenever I'm connected to my consciousness, my intelligence, things happen magically. That is about being spiritually, and every one of us can have. And the biggest tool is about being in the present moment, and the biggest instrument is being with your breath, being conscious of your breath. That is all.
Thank you. Thank you so much for patiently answering all the questions, sir. Now, I would like to ask Kavita if she has any questions to ask, sir.
First of all, really thank you, sir, for sharing entire journey. It's really inspiring. And yes, see, there are still a lot more questions. I want to know about when you said about when you jumped into complete service by leaving your corporate job. So, what made you to stick to that? Because a lot of time we get confused also. Did you get ever confused after entering into it, or you were really uh, strong enough mentally?
Yeah, good question. Actually, that question, that strong enough mentally should be more for my family, my wife, because she was a lot more supportive. It's important for them to feel confident, right? For me, what made me confident was the 2 years. I time boxed it, right? So 2 years, and then I was always confident, right? Given my skills, given my abilities, I can always get into a job anytime. So or do my own thing anytime. So I was always confident about it. The 2 years, okay, let it give it, right? Let's give it. And then nothing going to harm. I mean, a lot more work I can do, a lot more years for me to do. So the 2 years time boxing allowed me to always get over anything. I mean, like if there was any doubt, just 2 years, just 2 more years. And then the 2 years I was always busy with a lot of things, especially handling this whole thing about COVID and all that, and wanting to do a lot of things. So I enjoyed those 2 years. There's not much of a doubt. The only thing was that my family should be financially sufficient for those 2 years, right? So that was taken care of. That was the only worry that anyone has. My wife supported me a lot, right? So she was fine. I don't know whether my in-laws probably were not very happy with my decision, but they were always supportive. They never told me anything, but I know when my wife told them that I got into a consulting job, they felt really very happy, right? So, acha, finally, he's got into some job, because that is their mindset, right? So, yes, so the courage was situations conspired. Financially, I was self-sufficient for those 2 years, definitely, and family support. That's all happened. Personally, I didn't have any doubt, because I was waiting for the time, waiting for those 2 years to what to say, experience. I mean, try wanting to do things that I couldn't do.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. And coming to a question, when you said about your wife, Bindu ma'am, what one should see in a partner, like before choosing a partner? Should we go logically, or how should we? I mean, I know it's not only for your life, but for the youngsters. Yes.
Yeah, so I think coming from an arranged marriage system, right? Best thing is just believe your parents, right? And then that is what Indian philosophy talks about, right? Acceptance. Whatever be it, accept it, right? You can't, when you accept your kids and daughters and parents, why can't we accept the spouse, right? So that works for me. That's what you, basically the bhakti mode, right? You leave it to God or whoever it is. They make the right choices for you and you live with it. But yeah, then having said that, I mean, having seen a lot of people, I mean, people who come to retreats and valley going through relationship issues, yeah, I think we unnecessarily complicate things by using logic. So to answer your question, whether the logic or more the feeling or intuition, it should be more about the feeling or the intuition, right, compared to these two. But I think the biggest, what to say, it's going through the challenge, it's going through the experience, not knowing. Even you might feel good vibes at the beginning. You might have done all the logic, all the investigation at the beginning, but in the end, it's again up to you to make things happen, right? Like they say, all relationships teach you, teach us how to. I've learned a lot from my relationships, right? And then same thing I expect not only with the spouse, right? With our friends, with our colleagues. So you learn a lot from that, and ultimately, the only thing that you can change the outer truth by changing the inner, right? And then that was a big learning. The answer to your question is, I think, given logic or feeling, I think I would say go with your intuition and trust it.
Yes. Thank you, sir. And one more last question. Your main takings from Patriji.
Main takeaways from Patriji is, I think, definitely simplicity. Right. So he was simple, and he taught us all the simple things in a simple manner. So yeah, all his pravachans, if you look at it, they were all laced with everyday wisdom. It was not about attaining moksha after 100 years. It was about living with enlightenment every moment of our days, right? And that I was quite big draw was his word about you create your reality, right? Till then, it was destiny, it was God. In fact, I remember in one of my 10th standard exams, I did not do well. And then I went and prayed to Ganesha. So make me get so much marks, I will do ABCD for you. That was the mode at that particular time, right? So obviously, he didn't make me get those marks at that time. But anyway, I fared well. So it was from that to think, okay, everything is destined, everything is happening. From that, you create your reality was a very big statement for a lot of us, science and engineering minded, research minded. So my biggest takeaway is that statement: you create your reality. Number two, simplicity, right? And that is why I try to be simple. I try to teach simple concepts, and then we try to practice, communicate everything in a more simpler manner. So simplicity, you create your reality, and of course, the biggest tool for calming your mind, which is Anapanasati meditation.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Prithvi. Yes, so please,
Yeah.
yes, go ahead.
Thank you, Kavita. So, Sirisha, do we have any questions from the participants to ask, sir?
No, Prithvi, I don't see any questions.
Okay. So thank you so much, sir. As you said, the simplicity, it is so evident that every time we call you for the launch and the opening program, you're always ready to come and do the launch and be with us. And you were the first person who gave us the opportunity to do these online sessions. So I'm so thankful to you. Thank you for your time, for your wisdom, and for sharing all your journey so openly with us, sir. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you so much for joining, registering for this program. And such a beautiful name, Infinity. We're all here as infinite beings, as infinite souls, and through a process of infinite learning. And 52 weeks, starting from January, is such a beautiful program, that a great initiative by IFS's team. And thanks to Sagar Garu for inaugurating this with your beautiful wisdom. Thank you so much for doing that. And 52 weeks of journey. Please stay with us, stick with us. So many masters are going to come every Sunday to share their wisdom and answer your questions, and of course, to meditate together. So, great program by IFS's team. And definitely, we need to thank Patriji for bringing us all together on one single platform. And as he always believes that we are all masters, we are all gods, and we are all friends to each other. So thank you so much, my dear friends. And I wish everyone all the best with the collaboration of PMC English and the team, IFS's team, entire team. Thank you so much for putting this together. Thank you so much. And Sagar Garu, can't say thank you so much. I can't thank you enough for starting with yours, your wisdom session. Thank you so much for doing this. Thank you.